we'll remember to record it. Okay, welcome to all those on the line. I think some people are still connecting to audio, and we'll maybe give another couple of minutes for additional people to join the session. So we'll start in another couple of minutes. Welcome to all those on the line who've just joined. I think we're going to get started momentarily. There are likely going to be further people joining as we get started, but I think we should get going if that's all right with everyone on the line. Right, well, first of all, I'd like to say a huge welcome to everyone to this Strand 2 question and answer session for the Afri-Plastics Challenge. We're really happy to have you all on the line today, and we hope that this session will give you the opportunity to ask some questions and get a bit of clarity on anything that you've been wondering about in relation to Strand 2, creating solutions for the Afri-Plastics Challenge. In terms of our agenda today and what we'll be focusing on, we'll be sharing a brief overview of the Afri-Plastics Challenge, and then we'll share some more details specifically around Strand 2, creating solutions. We'll then jump into a Q&A session for the remainder of the call. So feel free to log your questions either in the chat or when we get to this session, the section at the end of the call, voice them up, raise your hand and unmute yourself. That actually leads us quite nicely into our housekeeping. Just a few reminders to make sure that this session runs smoothly. Please keep your microphone muted when you're not speaking. And again, as I said just now, with a Q&A session right at the end, please feel free to unmute yourself, to raise your hand and ask questions, but also type them in the chat throughout, and we'll be recording them and we'll make sure we'll come back to them. This session is being recorded for those who are unable to attend, and we will post it onto our website so it can be accessible by all. And finally, we'll share these slides and the supporting materials with you for ongoing reference in the lead up to the deadline. So let's move on then and jump straight into the background of the prize. So what is Afri-Plastics? What is it about? This challenge is a prize funded by the Canadian government, and it's part of a much bigger $100 million marine litter fund that the Canadian government announced at the G7 summit that they hosted back in 2018. And the Afri-Plastics Challenge aims to reduce the incidence of marine plastics across sub-Saharan Africa, specifically by looking at developing and scaling innovative solutions to plastic mismanagement, but very importantly, in a way that promotes the gender equality and the empowerment of women and girls. Ultimately, this challenge is all about preventing plastic waste from entering the marine environment, and doing that by finding ways to minimize our reliance on plastic and finding new ways of managing plastic waste itself. You might also be wondering, well, what is a challenge prize? Some of you might be familiar with the format, and others could be new to this. So a challenge prize is essentially a competition where we're offering a reward for the first, or in this case, some of the best solutions to a problem around marine plastic waste. So this type of a format really attracts the best innovators. We're able to really get the best ideas into the mix and support them to be able to get some really interesting and effective solutions to tackle the issue that we're trying to address. We have predefined criteria that helps us say what success looks like, but it helps us to avoid prejudging what is achieved. So that essentially leaves it open for your innovations and your great ideas. So let's move on to the challenge structure. So the challenge itself is divided up into 3 different strands. And this particular strand that we're having the session on today is about strand 2, creating solutions. And the application window for this strand is currently open. This particular strand is all around seeking the creation of new or early stage products, technology or services that is focused around the reduction or the elimination of plastic usage across the continent. So we're looking for ideas that are plugging the gap, looking at where there are opportunities for new innovations and new ideas to address the issue of plastic waste mismanagement across sub-Saharan Africa. I'm going to stop talking for now, and I'll hand over to my colleague Lauren, who will share a few more details on strand 2 itself.
Great, thank you so much, Janet. So like Janet said super briefly, we're looking for the creation of new or the development of early stage products, technologies, or services that encourage either the reduction or the elimination of plastics across sub-Saharan Africa. So our hope is by the end of the challenge, there'll be some successful community-centered products and services that demonstrate a sustainable approach to reducing the reliance on plastic, that also support the empowerment of women and girls at the same time. So if we move on to the next slide, I'll go into the eligibility criteria. So yes, applicants were looking for new or early stage ideas. And then those ideas must be focused in sub-Saharan Africa. We're asking that applicants are formally constituted and operating in sub-Saharan Africa, either as a registered business or an NGO, but we're also looking for individuals or community groups as well. So like I said, applicants can be individuals, a single entity, but they can also be an African partnership or an international partnerships. And if you are one of those applicants that are working in a partnership, we're asking that the nominated lead must be operating in sub-Saharan Africa. And then lastly, we expect that all the applicants own or be licensed to use the relevant idea or solution that they are submitting in their application. And then next, our judging criteria. So following the submission deadline of the 1st of December, a separate pool of assessors and a judging panel will be reviewing and assessing the applications based on 5 criteria. So the first is innovation. So does your idea have an innovative approach to reducing or eliminating plastic usage for communities in sub-Saharan Africa? Secondly is the empowerment of women and girls. So as I mentioned earlier, this is a key area for the challenge. So we'll be assessing if your idea contributes directly to the empowerment of women and girls and how you will integrate this goal into the solution. We'll be looking at the potential opportunities to engage women and girls in your idea, whether that's employees, customers, or users, and to what extent these opportunities will demonstrate an impact for these women and girls. And then thirdly, so social impact. So how your idea will make a positive and meaningful difference to society and your target users. Thirdly, the environmental impact. So how your idea will make a positive impact on the environment. Have you considered how your idea will address any potential negative environmental impacts that it could have, or what they could possibly be, and how they will be addressed? Or also, have you considered any local regulations? Lastly is capability. So the panel will be looking at the capacity behind the idea. So does your idea have a team behind it with the set of skills and experience to achieve success? So those are the 5 criteria that the judging panel will be assessing your idea and solution against. So the judging panel will be meeting in January. And we go into a little bit more detail in our applicant handbook, which is available in French and English on our website, which I believe is in the chat. Just before going on to the next slide, just to share that in January, following the judging panel, 25 finalists will receive £25,000, and later on, the 10 finalists will then receive £75,000. And then at the end of the challenge, 3 winners will be selected, with third place receiving 100,000, second place receiving 250,000, and then first place receiving 750,000 pounds. And we can get now to the next slide. Okay, so that was just a brief overview of the challenge, but if you require any more detail there, just please email us at Afri-Plastics@challenges.org. But there's also additional details in our applicant handbook. But now I would like to open it up for any questions or comments. Feel free to raise your hand, use the raise hand function if you would like to speak, or you're welcome to include your questions in the chat. So I will give everyone 1 or 2 minutes to kind of get their questions written. Yeah. Okay, so it seems like we've got one who's ready. So Boniface, who you have your hand raised, would you like to unmute yourself and ask your question?
Thank you, Laureen. Thank you for Janet. Please, my question is, with respect to expectations, are you expecting us to kind of prepare a document that will cover a community in sub-Saharan Africa? Like I'm in Ghana now. So are you looking at me in terms of the presentation? Should it be one that covers a community in Ghana, or I can expand it to cover other countries in the sub-region?
Okay, that's a good question. So in terms of what you'll need to submit, that'll be through the application platform on our website, also known as Submittable. Your solution can be based, our only requirement is that your solution is based in sub-Saharan Africa. So that could be in Ghana if you would like, but if your idea is looking at a broader area across sub-Saharan Africa, that is also okay. But just to make sure that you reflect that in your application. So either or, that's okay. Does that answer your question?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we have a couple in the chat. If one, okay, from Kata Ferry, So my question is, if one applies as an individual, can they write about their skills as an individual, or should they also talk about recruiting new staff seeked experience? That's a good question. So I would recommend that you do write about your skills, but also looking at your solutions broadly. What skills do you think that you'll be needing in order to develop your solution? So I think it would be good for you to also include those details in your application. Just looking at your solution, what other skills do you not have currently, but that you will be needing in order to develop your solution? Janet, feel free to jump in and add anything if you'd like.
No, that's great.
And does that answer your question, Kadafiri? If not, please do let us know. Okay, so another question in the chat from Valerie. What do you consider to be a new innovation? Our organization was registered in 2014 and have been focused on reducing plastic waste for the past several years. We do have a few ideas for new projects within the larger business that can increase our impact. Should we focus the application on one of these new projects, or can it be based on the overall business, even though it's not new since we've been working since 2014? So I think it's, oh.
No, go ahead, Lauren.
Okay. So I was just going to say, I think it's fine that you've been working since 2014. If it's a new idea, we would encourage you to apply with that new idea. And again, you are eligible to participate as an organization. It doesn't have to be a new organization. But yeah, I think as long as you have some new ideas that you would like to apply to the challenge for, we encourage that. Janet, did you want to add something?
Yes, I was just going to say, I mean, I think you covered it, Lauren, but just to say, Valerie, that yeah, when we're looking at innovation in quite a broad sense, it doesn't have to be a completely original idea. It might be that you're innovating something that you're already doing, or it could be that again, you have this existing business and you're coming up with a new product, service, or idea. So yeah, just building on what Lauren said, you're more than welcome to take on one of your new projects as a way of applying to Strand 2.
Okay, great. I think we'll just, before going on to the other questions in the chat, I believe there's Suleiman who has his hand raised. So Suleiman, do you want to unmute yourself and ask your question?
Yeah, hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, thanks so much. Yeah, you briefly touched on the international partnerships. Can you provide more explanation regarding that?
Yeah, of course. Janet, did you want to take that one?
Sure, yes. So thanks for that question. So when we talk about international partnerships, I suppose what we're thinking of is you could have a partnership in existence already, or you may have ideas for a partnership that you want to develop in order to submit your application to the prize. Perhaps an international organization has approached you, perhaps there is an international organization that you are interested in working with on this particular issue. We're looking for that's what we mean by an international partnership, essentially. So can you and are you interested in submitting your application with a partner outside of Africa, and what value would that bring to your idea, your solution? One specific note just to share is that we're not anticipating or requiring you to share evidence of an established partnership. So perhaps it's very early stage, you haven't quite yet got a memorandum of understanding between your two organizations. Perhaps there's a more detailed legal partnership that you would be wanting to engage in further down the line, but that's not set up. That's okay. We don't need evidence of that yet. We are just interested to know if you are applying with someone, who they are, and again, what is the interest and the motivation behind that. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Great,
Okay.
thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll just go back to the questions in the chat. So the next one is from Chachaona, which is in the application form. The emphasis is on ideas that eliminate or reduce the use of plastics in sub-Saharan Africa. Does this imply that ideas that promote the elimination of plastic do not qualify or are second rated when they're evaluated against the former? So that's a good question. I think it's a bit tricky without knowing the context of your idea. But I think the key word here is promote rather than directly eliminate or reduce the use of plastic. So I might want to pass this on to Janet. Did you want?
Yes, so we're not it's a very good question. Eliminating or reducing, does that imply that ideas that promote the elimination do not qualify or second rated? Yeah, sorry, I'm pausing because it's a good question. I would say that you know, our preference is for ideas that are looking to directly eliminate or reduce the use of plastics in sub-Saharan Africa. Talking around ideas that promote the elimination of plastic waste would really fit under our third strand that is launching in December, which is all around promoting change. So I would say really for strand 2, we're looking for those ideas that are directly tackling or contributing to the elimination or reduction of the use of plastics. If you're able to make that linkage through you know, positioning as, you know, you're promoting the elimination of plastic waste and that directly you know, reduces its use in sub-Saharan Africa, there's an argument there, but in my opinion, I think that promotion piece fits better under strand 3, which will be launching, as I said, in December. Does that help answer your question?
Please do let us know in the chat if you require any further clarification. The next question is, can we get a recording when this meeting, once it's over? Yes, of course. So we will have this recording of this meeting on our website. The next question from Olusola is, my question is, can I apply using a registered company and later substitute it with an NGO since the certificate for the NGO is not ready? I don't see any issues with that. I think we might need to double check that internally with our finance and legal team. Yes. But again, NGOs and registered companies are both eligible to apply, but that's something that I believe we would need to look into a little bit more detail internally. So please do send us an email with the further details after this call. Okay, so the next question is our approach in advocating for waste segregation at the household level a good innovation that can be funded? I would encourage you to apply. Janet, I don't know if you have anything to, we can't make any recommendations, but I would encourage, advocating, that's a good question. Is our approach in advocating. So we're looking for solutions that would directly eliminate or reduce the use of plastic. So like Janet mentioned earlier, I think if your approach is advocating for waste segregation, I think your idea is best placed for our third strand, which will be launched in December. Janet?
Great. I would agree with that.
Great. All right, so another question from Olusola is, do we also need to submit a proposal alongside the questions in the challenge? So no, you don't need to submit a proposal. So the all you need to do is complete the application form in submittable, and that's it. And if you have any questions, please do reach out by email. Finally, provide links to possible funding for innovations in plastic and waste management enterprises. That's not something that we have on hand at the moment, But yeah, if anyone is like aware of any other funding mechanisms open for plastic and waste management enterprises, please do share them in the chat. But that's not something that we have available for this call. Okay, and then another question from Juliet. So I'm working with a charitable organization registered in the US as the nominated person in sub-Saharan Africa. An idea solution is also from, but there, okay, 1 second. Okay. A solution is also from there, which we need to implement in sub-Saharan Africa, as it will solve a number of problems. I hope that it's okay in the application to talk about the 5 team members from the organizations. I see, because the organizations is registered in the US. So
could I ask a clarification question, Juliet, on that? So just to double check, are you having, so there's an organization in the US, you're the nominated person based in sub-Saharan Africa. Is there an entity established or registered in sub-Saharan Africa, or would it just be the US organization? If it is just the US organization, then they would not be qualified to apply on their own. They would need to have a local partner, as in an African-based and registered organization, and they could partner with that organization to submit the application form. I'm hoping that that helps, Juliet. We can maybe wait for your response to come through and then loop back.
That sounds good. So if you want to clarify in the chat, or if you want to send us an email after this call, please feel free to do so. So just to reiterate again, this presentation is recorded and will be posted on our website after this call. Just another question from Valentine. What is the limitation of the budget? So we don't require you to submit a budget in your application. And yeah, so there's no limitation in terms of how you spend the budget, but we will have kind of regular check-ins and be in communication to kind of help you develop and how those funds can be allocated. Janet, did you want to add something?
No, I think that's exactly right. We're not, you know, there are standard things that we include with in our grant agreement. So for those organizations that are successful to the next stage and do receive funding through the Afri-Plastics Challenge, they do sign a grant agreement, and within that there are limitations around, you know, not spending it on things like weaponry, which we wouldn't be doing anyway, but there are sort of red lines around that. But in terms of your general operations, we don't want to stipulate what you're spending the money on. We do, though, as Lauren said, we would like to get a sense of what you're spending money on so that we can understand where budget and where funding is most useful to develop your solutions.
Great, thank you, Janet. Okay, so we've got Annie here who just said that they have already submitted. And if you have any questions on your applications that you've already submitted, please do let us know. And then another question from Olusola. So does any idea that utilizes plastic waste for a secondary product or welcome idea on this strand too, do we need to show an evidence of an MOU when applying with an international partner? So yeah, if your solution is looking at reusing plastic waste as a secondary product, that idea is also welcomed for this strand. Janet, do we require an MOU when applying as international partner?
We don't. If you do have it, that would be great. We would be very keen on understanding that you have an MOU or you have a joint venture partnership established, but we don't need evidence of that when you're applying.
And Juliet here just clarified, I belong to a CBO, and that's how I work with the organization in the US.
Okay, so if you are a community-based organization, I would assume then, Juliet, that that is a registered organization, in which case that community organization would be able to be the lead local partner and partner with the US-based organization for the purposes of the application form. I hope that makes sense, and based on what you've shared, that feels like the right approach for me.
Great, thank you, Janet. And then lastly, from Wade in the chat, hi, I'm a student from the University of Senegal named Doust, and we have a project with American University in a project in which we recycle plastics. Are we eligible? So I think it's a little bit hard to just to judge based without knowing a little bit more context, but we do encourage ideas that are looking at reusing plastics. That is, that type of solution is eligible to participate in the challenge. But at the moment, that's all I can provide in terms of guidance. Janet, did you want to add something?
I would just say, yeah, take a look at our eligibility criteria in a bit more detail, just to make sure that, you know, you are looking at something new or early stage in relation to a plastic waste, and also from a partnership perspective, again, that you're able to qualify those requirements around a local based organization being or individual being the lead partner.
Great, thank you. Okay, so we've got another question here. So, well, the reduction of plastic in my country, Kenya, is have many hurdles. Making products from plastics may greatly help to this concern, as at the same time pose measures to reduce it as a primary product. So yeah, like I mentioned earlier, ideas that are looking at reusing plastic are encouraged and to apply. But yeah, that seems like an appropriate idea that would be eligible to apply. Yeah, so the next question is a nonprofit organization eligible to apply? So yeah, an NGO can apply. And then lastly, we have a technology solution that's ready for integration into the App Store to enhance plastic waste collection. Not deployed yet. Are we qualified to apply for the challenge? That's a good question. It seems like your solution is already developed and we're looking for new solutions or new ideas that are still early stage, but it seems like yours is a little bit advanced and wouldn't be eligible. Janet, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, I'm interested. Yeah, it's a good question, Sunday, because it's ready for integration, but it's not deployed yet. So integration into the App Store. So it sounds, based on what you're saying, please correct me if I'm wrong, but a technology solution, integration into the App Store. So you have something, you have an app that is ready to be put onto the App Store to be sold, to be accessed by potential customers and users, but it hasn't yet been put into the market. If that's correct, then I would say actually you are probably eligible to apply. It's an early stage solution. It's not yet in the market. If you have done any kind of piloting of this solution, it would be interesting to talk about that during your application form or in your application form to really get a sense of, yeah, if it's not yet in the market, Sunday, then you are eligible to apply.
Okay, great. Thank you, Janet. And then we've got Sparkles Mineral Water, who, oh, no problem for joining late. Can a business at pilot stage apply? So yeah, so this is a pretty flexible criteria. So we're looking at businesses, individuals, NGOs can apply. So even if your business is at pilot stage and you have an idea that would be eligible, that fits within this strand, you're eligible to participate in the challenge and to apply. Then we've got Sammy. Will the prize support the research and the development? So that's a good question, Sammy. So we will have a period for the semifinalists that are selected to participate in the next phase of the challenge. There will be some non-financial support, so some capacity building support that will be offered to help develop your solution. Janet, did you want to add something?
Yeah, just to add to that, Sammy, that research is part of research and design thinking is part of that non-financial support. So to be able to build that out further, build out your prototype of your idea, your solution, test that out and do some rapid validation, and then take the learnings from that to pivot or to build out your solution further during the finalist stage. So yeah. Really, really good question, Sammy.
Okay, great. There aren't any more questions in the chat and no one has their hands raised, but maybe I'll give a minute or two for any last minute questions to be submitted. Sorry, Olusola. Do we also need to submit a proposal alongside the questions in this challenge? So no, you don't need to submit a proposal with your application. So the application consists of only of the questions and included in the application form, and that's it. So there's no additional proposal needed. Okay, so I'll just let I'll just give it a couple of minutes for any other questions to be put into the chat, or feel free to raise your hand if you would like to speak.
Hello, good afternoon.
Yes, hello.
Yeah, this is Martin. I don't know if I can also ask questions related with submittables.
If you can ask questions about submittable, definitely, but if you have any questions regarding if you're struggling to gain access to the platform or specific questions on that, please do email us through the generic inbox for the prize. But go ahead and ask your question and we'll try our best to help you.
Okay, I want to ask a question on a challenge where two people are collaborating in submittable, but then one person is not able to see what the other person is working on. What could be the problem? Because I have a case like that.
Okay, that's a good question. I think this might need to be addressed after, just so we can investigate. Daniela, did you want to elaborate on that?
Yes, I think what could happen there is that they started a submission of their own instead of working on the submission they were invited to as a collaborator. So that's the most likely scenario. So they started their own application. So they would need to invite again the person that needs to collaborate with them.
So is there a possibility of you from your side able to see that? Because if I tell such person to start afresh so that we can collaborate, you know, the form is so detailed and most likely they will not be willing to start afresh. If in the event that they've finished the application, what do we do?
They can submit directly or let us know, and yeah, so basically they can submit directly, but if necessary, we can talk through these internally.
Yeah, Martin, I'm thinking that this might need a little bit more, as Lauren said, a bit more investigation, particularly if it sounds like there could be, what I'm understanding is there potentially two duplicate applications, but you want to be able to combine them into one. So we will need to maybe take that offline and figure that out. If you wouldn't mind emailing us directly on the Afri-Plastics email, and we can follow up with you directly to get that rectified.
Perfect, I'll do that.
Okay, thank you. So there's just a few questions in the chat. So from Nifemi, we are a design studio based in Lagos. Do we need to have a business plan tied to our product? So no, we're just looking for ideas or early stage products. You don't need to submit a business plan. Just fill out the questions in the application form with your proposed idea. Hopefully that answers your question.
Can I add just something to that? Nifemi, there are a couple of questions within the application form that sort of link to your business plan. So if you do have, if you already have a business plan established or kind of mocked up, then it would be useful to pull out some of the content from that to answer some of those questions. But you don't need to attach it as a sort of supporting document. It's good to already have some of that thinking done and dusted. So if you do then end up progressing to the semi-finalist stage, you'll already have quite a lot of good foundational work to lean on.
Thank you. Okay, so great. So another question from Sunday. So must women be a part of the team? We most definitely welcome it. And we encourage women to participate and be a part of teams. We'd like your solution to include women and the participation of women through whether that's as customers or users. But yeah, the involvement of women and girls must definitely be a consideration when submitting your application and your idea. And if you're selected to be a semi-finalist, we'll support you with incorporating that into your solution, in the development of your solution as well. Janet, did you want to add anything?
No, I think you pretty much covered it. We're not requiring you to have women on your team, on your solution team. But as Lauren said, we strongly encourage women to be participating in your team, as well as engagement with women and girls more broadly.
So Sunday, just because that was your question and you have your hand raised, would you like to ask another question?
Okay. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, good afternoon. So thank you for your time. Thank you for this opportunity. So let me ask this question now. So what will you advise now? I'll answer for your advice now. So we just finished on our own solution. We just finished on development stage now. So we advise that we hold on instead of deploying, since we haven't done any pilot yet. It's just a new solution that we just finished on to, not deployed, not in the market yet, not deployed, it's new. So we employ that we hold on before we deploy until when you guys are ready, so we can deploy and do the pilot together with when you guys are ready. Or what will you advise?
I can jump in here, Lauren, if that's helpful.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's a good question, Sunday. I mean, obviously, we can't guarantee any application being taken forward, through to the semi-finalist stage. And I know you're not asking me that, but
Yeah, sure.
we can't guarantee that. So as a result, because we can't guarantee that, I wouldn't want you to pause the development of your idea and the momentum of your work, to kind of wait for the decision as to whether you've been successful on the challenge or not. What I would say is that regardless of whether you end up moving into the pilot stage over the next couple of month plus or so before the decision is made, you would still be very much in the early stage space. So I think that there wouldn't be a challenge around the eligibility of your solution. Does that help, Sunday?
Yeah, sure, that helps now. So my final question now: does it really matter if you're already incorporated?
Sorry, can you repeat that question?
Does it really matter if you are already incorporated, or you want us to not incorporate until when you until do you want to do incorporation for us or we do our own incorporation before the challenge starts?
Oh, you can, it doesn't matter. We're just keen to understand whether if you are incorporated, we'd like to know, you know, what organization it is and the establishment, you know, if you've got the registration document for that. Because we're also opening this strand up to, it's open to individuals. Individuals may not be incorporated. They may just have an individual application. So in that case, we'd be looking for those individuals to think about registering or incorporating themselves once they've, you know, moved forward in the challenge. So, you know, if you've already established yourself, if you've already got a registration, then that's great. If you don't, then that's also fine.
Okay, no problem. We have not just done some, we did our own some few months ago.
Great, great. And thank you for the question, Sunday.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Okay, so another question is, do we need to submit some video evidence of our idea alongside the application? So no, we don't require any video evidence during this application. Hopefully that answers your question. Sparkles Mineral Water, sorry, I missed the introduction part, but I'm confused about the nature of the awardees. Yeah, so happy to clarify that. So in early February 2022, 25 semifinalists will be selected, and they will each receive £25,000 in grant. And then following this, in June 2022, out of those 25 semifinalists, 10 will be selected to move forward at the finalist stage and will receive a grant of $75,000. And that will support the development and validation of their idea. And then lastly, in February of 2023, at the end of the finalist stage, the 10 finalists will be required to submit a detailed development plan, and then also a video pitch for evaluation by the judges. And then in March 2023, the 3 winners will be selected. And for third place will receive £100,000. Second place will receive £250,000. And first place will receive £750,000. So hopefully that answers your question. All of this is available on our website, but if you require any further clarification, please do send us an email. And then Emmanuel, can plastic processing be a solution? Janet, did you want to take this one?
Sure. So Emmanuel, plastic processing has been part of Strand 1. So we were looking at the processing and collection of plastic through Strand 1. That being said, if you've got a really innovative solution around plastic processing that's different than what's happening already, then that could definitely be thrown into the mix for Strand 2, and you can submit an application for that. But I would suggest it needs to be different, and there needs to be something very innovative around that, especially given that we've been focusing on the processing and collection and processing of plastic waste through our first strand. Hopefully that helps answer your question.
Okay, great. There are no more questions in the chat, and no one's got their hand raised, so I'll just give a couple of minutes for any
Excuse me, I have 2 last questions.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, this strand was focusing on innovation, and so my question is, does the time from the period from which you started the innovation and now matters? For example, if you get somebody who has been working in innovation for the last 4 years, or somebody who've just started it just now, does that period matter? So that is the first question. Second question is that it's focusing on cleanup of the ocean. Does applications which are done far away from the ocean, or people who are not really close to ocean, still stand a chance? Thanks.
Lauren, do you want me to take these questions?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Sure. So the first one was around, does it matter whether someone has 4 years of innovation experience or someone who is brand new to the innovation space? It doesn't matter at all. Obviously, if someone has 4 years of innovation experience, that definitely can help them align to the criterion that we have around capability. That being said, someone new to innovation could have some skills from other parts of their life and other parts of their work that could be just as helpful. So it's really about how you answer the questions around your capability, your team, and the skills and the knowledge that you have. Hopefully that answers that question. In terms of your second question, it doesn't matter whether you are based in a country that is inland versus coastal. At the end of the day, marine plastic litter is within marine environments that aren't just the ocean, but rivers and lakes. So we're very much open to applications coming from countries that are inland. Just to give you an example, for Strand 1, we had applications and successful applications from countries like Congo, which is completely inland, and Uganda also. So please do apply, even if you are not a coastal country. Does that help with those questions?
Thank you. That was very nice.
Great, thank you.
Fiston, you have your hand up. Did you want to ask your question? No? Okay, please feel free to add it in the chat or just unmute yourself if you would like to speak. Okay, if not, I'll give another minute or two for anyone who have any additional questions to please submit them in the chat or raise your hand. Okay, great. If there are any additional questions, oh, seems like we just got one. Does size matter of the team really matter? So it's less about size and more about the relevant skills that you're considering, whether or not you have the right skills to deliver and to achieve impact with your solution. So I would say that size, it's not really about size, but rather if you have the right capability, like skills and experience within your team. Hopefully that answers your question. Sunday has another question. Is solution to enhance plastic collection qualify? Janet, do you want to take that one?
Sure. I think this is really similar to the question that Emmanuel asked about plastic processing. So again, for Strand 1, that was focused on collection and processing and the scaling of those solutions. So, you know, the same answer really applies to your question on collection. It would need to be very different. The idea would need to be very different from what is already happening in the collection space. Otherwise, you know, Strand 1 would have been the strand for that particular idea to be applied.
So Janet, hopefully that answers your question. Ruben, can I share the email? So yes, I've just put that into the chat. And if anyone wants to email us after this, you can do so at Afri-Plastics@challenges.org. Okay, so if there are just one last chance maybe for anyone who's got any last minute questions. Oh, thank you, Mohammed. Okay, great. Well, thank you all very much for joining the webinar today. Really, thank you so much for all your questions.
I think there's one more, sorry.
Okay. Can we apply for a project in which we are transforming plastic into another product? Yeah, so we're looking for any types of innovative products, and that one is definitely eligible to apply. Janet, did you want to add anything?
No, nothing to add on that. I'm not sure whether Sparkles Mineral Water had another question.
How do we quantify the amount before even starting?
That's a good question. Do you want me to take that, Lauren?
Yes, please.
So that's a great question. You know, if you're at the idea stage, we're not expecting you to have everything in relation to that figured out, but you may have some ideas around, you know, how much potential plastic your idea could potentially eliminate from the system. So it's really about your thinking. Have you considered the quantities of plastic that you might be engaging with? Have you done some initial testing of your idea or market analysis to understand what proportion of plastic waste and what type of plastic waste you might be looking at, and therefore how you could affect change in that space? Does that help?
Please let us know if you need any more clarification. Oh, do I need to
percentages or numbers? If you have them, that's always helpful. If you have some that are estimates, that's fine. And if you don't have any, then it would just be interesting to know what thinking have you done in that space so far.
Much for your questions. Okay, so just a couple of more minutes, and just for any last minute questions. Okay, great. Well, again, thank you so much for your participation today. You definitely, if you have any more questions, do email us at the email that's in the chat, Afri-Plastics@challenges.org, and we'll be happy to answer your question. But thank you all for participating today.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye.